Hey everyone, just wanted to do a quick review of this model kit I just put together. It is Shockwave from the Transformers. This is particularly the way he appeared in the Bumblebee movie. This is by a company called Yolopark. First kit I've ever gotten from them. I've heard of them. They also, I believe, have Optimus Prime from the Bumblebee movie, and I think Bumblebee himself. But I think this may have been the first one to actually come out, which was kind of weird. And it looks amazing in photos. I had my eye on it back when it was available for pre-order, might have even been like 2 years ago at this point, and had an opportunity to pick one up in person, which saved me a considerable amount of money. And finally bit the bullet on it, decided to take a chance, and it came in this enormous box. And you can see on here just how much detail is on this thing. And this is pretty much the same scale as a perfect grade Gundam, which I will be making a lot of comparisons with, since that's what I'm most familiar with. And you can see just how much detail there is essentially under the skin on this thing. So I am not going to show what it's like to build it. I already have it built. This thing came with a ton of parts. I think it might have been around 50 parts trees. This cost me $200. I think online I've seen it for a little bit more. If you can still find it in stock. But here it is. And he really is gorgeous looking, put together. I'm going to be talking about this in a second. Little gun that comes with him. Shockwave never really had a secondary gun because he has the one on his arm, but this one came with it. And it is very solid, very heavy. Like I said, a lot like a perfect grade Gundam would be. They have a lot of what they refer to as part sliding, where if you move a joint, you'll see a lot of other stuff sliding and shifting to be able to make that. It's a little difficult for me to do holding the phone, but has a decent range of posability. It even has some springs in here, and I was wondering why they were there, because they actually spring inward. So if you put them in a kneeling position, this will actually kind of close up any gaps that form when you adjust the legs, which is interesting. I've never seen springs used in that way before. There's also some on either side here. So when you have him bend his knees far enough, it'll kind of move out of the way. Got flaps on the hips. Again, like a lot of Gundams have. This guy even has a little bit of toe articulation here. And massive gun. I think it's a little too big. I mean, it might be how it was in the movie, but I'd like it a little bit more in line with the hands. And speaking of the hand, just like some perfect grades have, it has full finger articulation. And you actually assemble these. In some cases, you don't necessarily assemble the figure joint, or you don't assemble all of the finger joints here, but on this you do. There's a little bit of maneuverability here in the shoulders. Again, kind of hard to hold the phone and show this. And these little veins in here kind of pivot if you want. Just another extra little detail. But anyway, he's really solid, really tall. It's probably about the same height as a typical Gundam. The angle on the camera makes it look off, but yeah, he's just shy of 12 inches tall. And I mean, he can do a lot. He even has an ab crunch in here where these parts kind of overlap. And so what I was saying with the little gun, there's a little LED in there, and it is magnetically operated. I've never seen any done like this before. Usually you have to actually take the head apart, like say if it was a perfect grade Gundam, and actually turn on a switch internally and then reassemble the head. This is really clever how they have this. So there's a magnet in the end of this gun here, and you just get close, and there you go. And you do it once again, and I actually did it twice accidentally. So it has a lower setting. Now it is a little on the wonky side because it has a lower light level, and there it is. It's really hard to make it work just perfectly. The batteries were very, very loose. In fact, I took a little bit of foil tape and jammed it between the batteries to tighten it up a bit. But you bump this around too much, and yeah, that's the downside to it. It's very wonky. It's clever, but not as dependable as a Switch, obviously. I could see at some point just a magnetic field gets too close to it, turns it on, and then your batteries go dead. But pretty cool. And he's one of those characters you almost need the light on to really get the detail. And see, I didn't even turn it off. I don't know what made it go off. Yeah, quite wonky. Like, I'm not sure if it's on a timer. We'll see. Maybe it goes off automatically. But it doesn't explain it. And, yeah, okay. Maybe we'll stay on now. There we go. There we go. So, one of my big problems with this kit, to get into a little bit of review, if you want something where when assembled, it just looks absolutely amazing, this definitely does the trick. It looks amazing when it's complete. I haven't posed it a whole lot, but it seems like there is a lot of posability available. But here is probably my biggest gripe about this thing. The directions. These directions suck. And to get back to what I said about the battery, nowhere in the directions can I find where it states what kind of batteries it takes. I tried to do some research online and found out that this was supposed to come with batteries, but like here in the US, apparently they can't import it with the batteries included, so they're not. But then the directions, they don't tell you what kind of batteries you need. So someone online said what they were supposed to be. Like I said, the batteries are very loose, so it could be that they're wrong. So I would tell you the type of batteries I got, but I don't want to mislead anyone in case that is actually incorrect. As you can see, they work, but not great. So as you can see, there are a lot of parts trees here. Now, one of the issues with the directions, just like a lot of Gundam kits, it'll have stuff grayed out if you don't use it. And interestingly enough, there's apparently a lot of parts on this that are shared with the Optimus Prime model. And the only reason I know that is someone was over while I was working on this kit, and they said, "Are you working on Optimus Prime?" And I was like, "No, this is Shockwave. Why would you say Optimus Prime?" And they said, "Because the parts tree says Optimus Prime." And there were quite a few that said Optimus Prime, so I think there may be a lot of internal parts that might be shared. Another thing to be aware of is there are a number of parts trees here. And sorry, I'm getting a shadow. Where you have D5, D5. And it's the same parts tree but in different colors. And so there are cases where you may say, I want the part in a slightly different color, and they provide it. So that makes it a little bit confusing. There are a whole host of parts here that I cut off that I use for greeblies on other projects that weren't used. There's actually a few more than this. But this part, for example, it is not grayed out on here that it shouldn't be used. And I've gone through the directions, cannot find where that part gets used anywhere. The other issue I have with the parts, or I should say that I have with the instructions, is there's a lot of parts that are black on black, and so sometimes it's very hard to see how parts are being connected. And if you look here, sometimes I'll show a profile view that helps a little bit. Has a little bit of different color shading. And it's hard for me to actually point out specific stuff without going through page by page. But the shape of the parts is very odd, which also in some cases makes it very hard to see what you're supposed to be doing and how certain things are supposed to be going together. I guess you would call it the spine on the back was very, very tricky. And in fact, there is one part that I literally could not put it on. In fact, I ended up breaking one of the pieces. Here we go. So yeah, this part here, I'm going to try to zoom in as much as possible, and it shows all these tabs. They go, well, how exactly do they plug in? And I have one that busted from trying to flex and get it in. And then the second one I have intact. If you look at his spine, this little part is supposed to go like in there somewhere. And that's how I ended up breaking the one part, is there's nothing obvious. You look in there and there does not seem to be any place that those tabs actually go. And I think that they maybe just lock in under something and just kind of float there, but could not make it work. Tried and tried and tried and tried. And I mean, it's not like I don't have experience putting together complex kits. Now, this is one nice thing that they have in the directions, is it'll tell you exactly what parts trees you need, and also basically what color it is, whether it's a gray, silver, purple, black. That is very handy. However, one of the huge frustrations with this kit is that almost anything you're working on, you are constantly going from one parts tree to another. And granted, I understand if you have different colors or different materials, you can't necessarily share a parts tree in the manufacturing. However, the amount of time that was spent constantly going to a different parts tree was incredible. I mean, you have some stuff here where, okay, there's two different parts. But there you go from G1. Now you're on G4. Now you're on A5. Now you're on A4. Now you're on E1. Now you're on A6. Now you're on A4, H3, J4. It's incredible. There was very, very few times that you ever just said, I'm going to assemble 2-3 parts and they're going to be from the same parts tree. No, it's just constant. This thing probably would have been done in about 50% of the time if it weren't for constantly having to go through parts trees. I mean, there you go. That's the one leg. And look how many different parts trees are utilized just on that one leg. Some of the parts are shaped very odd, and so trying to just follow how they go together. I think that is one of the most miserable things about this this kit was the directions. Like I said, when it's done, looks absolutely beautiful, but just Kyla, what are you doing over there? Life with cats. So anyhow, yeah, it's a beautiful kit. I mean, if you're a Transformers fan and you like putting model kits together like Gundam and everything, can I recommend it? Well, I mean, I think for the price, $200, even if you're talking $225, $250, you're in the range of perfect grade Gundam. Has a lot of the pluses they do, but just be aware that as far as the assembly goes, it may not be all relaxing and fun. It may have quite a bit of frustration that goes with it. So that's just something to keep in mind. Hope you enjoyed the review. Later.